Hello everyone, and welcome to Tabletop Obscura presents Nexaria Campaign Setting. How are we all tonight? Hope we're doing good. Hope we're doing well. Before we get too far into it, yes, no game tonight. We're kind of figuring out what we're doing with Sundays for the next little while. Because things are going to be changing again pretty soon. So in the meantime, there is going to be some filler content, stuff like this. We might run a little bit more Fallout, but for tonight, a friend of mine who I've worked with before, Luis Castro, he's done a lot of work in the third-party scene for Pathfinder, for 5e, and a couple of other things. He's got a pretty long portfolio, and he had a Kickstarter for Nexaria, which you see up on the screen there. And he's been talking to me recently and was getting some help from me with a couple of other things. So he's like, hey, thanks for all the help. Here, have the book. And I had a little bit of a skim through it and I was like, fuck, I've got to cover this on stream. This is so good. This is so cool. I want to run this. I want to run this setting. Like, fuck. Ah. Look. Chat. I love Galarian to bits. I truly do. However, it is a little bit of a kitchen sink setting and it kind of occupies that medium fantasy space, medium to high fantasy. So if you're wanting something a little bit darker, you don't have a lot of options at the moment for published Pathfinder 2 settings. Like a month or two back, I covered Grim Hollow from Ghostfire Games, and that was really good, but it would require a lot of conversion and stuff like that to Pathfinder 2nd edition to make it work. And there's a couple of other settings that you could probably grab and get to, but this one was natively written for Pathfinder 2nd edition. Now, I have set up a command if people want to check it out for themselves. It worked! But yeah, also Lewis is just a pretty cool guy. So this is not sponsored. He does know that I'm doing this. Not sure if he's going to be joining us or not. I have promised him we are not going to do a full page flip of this book. I don't think that could happen either way. It's 200 pages, so I'm not doing it in one sitting either way. But as is usual, for those who haven't been to one of these streams, I'm probably not going to cover a lot of the lore. I'm going to cover a little bit of it because I kind of have to. But if you want to experience the full lore for this campaign, I would suggest that you go and check it out for yourself. $200, that's chunky. You need the hook. What would you like as a hook? Because I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so we can get through this a little bit quicker. To begin with, the art in this book is fucking gorgeous. Like, look at that. Whoa. Now, there are a couple of things I do specifically want to look at in here. Like, they got a new ancestry that we've kind of needed for Pathfinder 2nd edition for a while. Content warnings. Here we go. The details within these pages might touch on issues that can be sensitive for certain people. It's important to keep the topics below in mind when reading this book and running and playing adventures based on it. Before running a campaign in Nexaria, it's recommended that all players have an open conversation about these issues and use safety tools such as lines and veils, stars and wishes, or the X card. Some topics that may appear in Nexaria are as follows: violence, blood, gore, body horror, mutations, mental illness, toxic substances, war conflicts and their consequences, trauma, religion, and extreme political forces. Today we're going through a campaign setting that was given to me by a friend of mine. Say, let's speak bestie. called Nexaria. I'm actually kind of keen to run it as well. I can't wait for the Foundry module. I really, looking forward to it. It's gonna be good. Now, we're gonna go into, because one of the things I absolutely love it, there's an index, like there's the bookmarks are already done. I love it when that's a thing. So, we have details for like our dwarves and things like that. Where will you play it? Who are your players? I am honestly considering running at least a short campaign using Nexaria. I'm seriously considering it. I don't know who I want to grab for players as yet. But it is one of those things that I'm looking at. Because particularly when it comes to Wednesday night, I'm not sure what I want to run after... I'm not sure what I want to run after Revenge of the Runelords is all done. So I'm thinking I kind of want to run something a little bit of my own adventure, but use someone else's setting. Because I kind of want to extend it out, you know? Hey, Zenis. So, as this is a new setting, there are some new heritages and ancestries that have been introduced. Some of them are just kind of slightly different for different origins. But it does kind of speak to the inherent darkness within the setting that I do kind of like. Because I do want to run some darker adventures. Night dwarves, kind of. The Dustling dwarves fled long ago to the Shadowlands, where their appearance changed to give them their present appearance. Pale grey complexion and white and grey hair, as well as bleached pupils. In the Shadowlands dwell powerful aberrations against which the Duergar have had to face since the day they arrived. So, if you are a Duskling dwarf, that is your origin. Also, I should point out, because I have done a few of these now, this is all remastered, this is all for current Pathfinder 2nd edition. But, in the centuries since your ancestors arrived in the Shadowlands, your people have faced and fought all manner of unknown creatures. Now you know their features and behaviors enough to face them bravely. You get a +1 circumstance bonus to damage with weapons and unarmed attacks against creatures with the Aberration, Dream, Ethereal, or Shade traits. If your attack would deal more than one weapon die of damage, as is common at higher levels than first, the bonus is equal to the number of weapon dice or unarmed attack dice. In addition, if any creature critically succeeds at an attack against you and deals damage to you, you gain your bonus to damage against that creature for 1 minute, regardless of whether it has one of the listed traits. That's pretty cool. That's a little bit revengey. I like that. That's kind of, yeah, you've crit me. Wait till I swing back. Give this dwarf a great pick. But that's actually really interesting, because a +1 circumstance bonus to damage based on the creatures. I wonder if we'll have a feat that has that working for spells as well. Vibrating Stomp. You have learned a technique that allows you to sense the vibrations of the ground and thus locate the positions of creatures and objects around you. You stomp the ground with your feet, letting the resounding vibrations guide you. You gain imprecise tremor sense with a range of 30 feet until the start of your next turn. If your next action is to seek a creature within the range of your tremor sense, you gain a +1 circumstance bonus to your perception check. I think we have something similar to that already, but I don't think it's at first level. And I think that will work a little bit better for the setting. Elves. In particular, oh, we've actually got a couple of heritages. All right. A Duskling Elf. After fleeing to the Shadowlands during the Great Rift, the ancient solar elves changed as they dwelt in the darkness, improving their skills in the lack of light. Their skin faded to grayish tones and their hair lost any hint of color. The Shadowlands are inhabited by numerous dangers, forcing these elves to develop stronger defenses. Also, once again, can I say how great this art is? Like, this is just great. Moonborn Elf. In the blood of moon, elves runs an affinity for elemental energy. They build their cities in areas where elemental magic manifests most powerfully, and the tones of their skin and hair are similar to the colors of a starry night sky. See, that's really pretty. I like that. Where's Ish, actually? I think that would be up her alley. Specific elf heritages. A channeler elf. During your daily preparation, select one of the following: air and electricity, acid and earth, fire, metal and electricity, water and cold, or wood and poison. Until your next daily preparations, whenever you cast a spell from your spell slots that deals damage, if it has one of those chosen traits, you gain a status bonus to the spell's damage equal to half the spell's rank rounded up. Oh, I do like a damage bonus to spells. Just give me more damage bonuses to spells, please. Please. Like, goblins get their bonus to fire spells. Let's give it to others as well. If you have the Sorceress Potency class feature, when you choose traits this way, select a spell in your repertoire with one of the traits. Until your next daily preparations, you treat that spell as a signature spell. If your proficiency in spell DC is master, you can choose 2 spells instead, or 3 if you're legendary. Fuck, that's good. That's really good. So it means if you're playing a sorcerer and have like the elemental bloodline going on, so you have a lot of the elements kind of in your list, a lot of the primal stuff, then you can kind of just switch and swap and change around. So if you know you're going to be fighting creatures that are going to be weak to a certain element, you can actually swap and change. That's really good. Oh, I like that. Oh, I do like that. Occulted Elf. Your ancestors' clashes or pacts with mysterious powers have fortified your mind and spirit against meddling magics. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against effects with the occult trait, including occult spells. Suck it, bards. Moonsight. In your veins runs the blood of elves who used to live in the night hours or lived in an area where sunlight barely shone. The vision of these elves adapted to the lack of light. Whenever you seek, you gain dark vision for that action and until the start of your next turn. I feel like that could just be have dark vision. It's not a big thing. See, I would even say just give them dark vision, but whenever they seek things in darkness, give them a bonus. Unnamed magic. All your life you have felt the presence of an entity which has no name from beyond the veil. Over the years, this nameless one's power became a part of you. Choose one cantrip from the occult spell list. You can cast this cantrip as an occult innate spell at will. A cantrip is heightened to a spell rank equal to half your level rounded up. That's really good as well. I kind of like that, especially as a ancestry feat, because I would happily pick that up more than once, especially if I'm not sure what other elf feats I want to grab. And I know it's come up a couple of times. Like, people have gone, oh, 16th level elf, I guess I'm gonna grab that one feat for the gates, I guess. So having something that you can pick up like that, I think it's really good. Gnomes! I do like this gnome. Gnome heritages. Citadine Gnome. Attracted by city life, Citadine gnomes have managed to carve out a niche for themselves in most of Nexaria's major cities. Their love for study and their natural inclination to interact with people of all kinds has deepened their knowledge of the traditions and cultures of other ancestries. You are trained in society. If you would automatically become trained in society from your background or class, for example, you will instead become trained in a skill of your choice. At 5th level, you become an expert in society. When you select the multilingual feat, you learn 3 new languages instead of 2, in addition to any benefits from higher proficiency in society. I like that. Okay, so, chat. I am a sucker for anything that's like have more languages. Like truly. Give me something that's like 10. I used to love playing Tengu and Pathfinder First Edition, because you just got so many languages. I played a Tengu in one game, and I think I eventually mastered every language. Or at least every language that was official. And I do like the idea of having things that specifically key off of other feats. It is a little campaign dependent. But at the same point, if you have, and this is why a session 0 is really good, because if you look to your GM and say, hey, GM, I want to take these options, I want to play this kind of character who has a lot of different languages going on. So I want to have like 4 or 5 different languages. I'm thinking of picking up multilingual when I can. What can we do about that? And if the GM is receptive, then I would be inclined to do extra stuff with languages. Jives over Grimdark setting that there are creatures you just can't communicate with. Choice and consequence are the things I want in a game like this. Yes. So in something like Pathfinder, particularly when I'm running Galarian-based adventures, I will have a tendency to just be like, everyone speaks common. Unless we have specific things like Rosetta in Shades of Blood, where I can actually play off of those languages, I usually just have people being able to speak their other languages. But if you're running something that's a more grimdark setting, I'm more inclined to put those language barriers up, because it is a darker setting, and it is something that happens. Speaking of ancestry feats though, Deceiver! Your blend of verbosity, silver tongue, and insistence means you are able to slip lies past even the most skeptical listener. When you get a failure using the lie action, the circumstance bonus the target gains against your next attempt to lie is reduced from +4 to +2. This only works once per conversation. If your proficiency rank in deception is expert or greater, you gain Confabulator as a bonus skill feat. I do like that. That's actually really clever. I like the idea of a general feat or an ancestry feat that's like, once you get to this skill level, have this skill feat. Because it kind of rewards a player's investment in that skill. Fidgety Hands. Your unstoppable curiosity has led you into properties that are not technically yours, and your ability to go where you're not wanted is developed commensurately. You gain the trained proficiency rank in stealth and thievery. If you would automatically become trained in one of those skills from your background or class, for example, you instead become trained in a skill of your choice. In addition, you gain the additional lore skill feat for your choice of underworld lore or a specific city's lore. For example, Argos lore. Argos being a city in the setting itself. I do like that. It kind of leans into kind of the rogue concepts and ideas that have a tendency to go with halflings and gnomes, but I kind of get it. Friends on the streets. You enjoy strolling the alleys of the place you call home, making new friends and striking up conversations with everyone who crosses your path. You become trained in society. If you're already trained in society, you instead gain the streetwise skill feat. Thank you, Neil Aaron. See, I like that as well. Like, once again, it kind of feeds into the last one, but you know, you trained in a skill, gain a skill feat. You also gain a +2 circumstance bonus to make an impression on creatures and settlements common ground like market squares or taverns. Also good. See, there's a lot of germ roll and skill feats out there which have these really niche uses. One of the ones that gets quoted a lot is one in every port, which is whenever you go to a new city, it's easy for you to find an inn, which is fine, but there's not much more to it. Whereas I like something like this where it's like, hey, you gain a bonus to doing make an impression while you're in like these kind of common ground areas like market squares or taverns, but you'll also kind of get a skill feat as well, because I could use that for one in every port. Like showing up in a city, making an impression, talking, gathering information. Honestly, I would probably add gather information to that as well. But halfling, no new feats. Human, same. Orcs, love this picture for an orc. Give me a tatted up orc any day. Other ancestries. Oh, see, this is good, because one of the things with Pathfinder 2nd edition is that there are a lot of ancestries on offer, so having a little section in your setting to kind of talk about it is a good idea. There are many other ancestries and heritages that are not described in this book. The ancestries listed here are the most commonly found in Nexaria, but others also inhabit this world. Heritages of the ancestries that appear elsewhere in the book, although not mentioned here, are also considered to be common in Nexaria. Ancestries that are not described in this book are considered uncommon and may be native to distant and unknown continents or even other planes. There might even be forgotten origins due to the punitive memory loss the Titans inflict upon Argos and the world. Even so, individuals belonging to these ancestries are respected and treated with the same integrity as the rest and may belong to any region, culture, city, organization, and background in Nexaria. It is a dark setting, but that is no excuse for racism, and I like that it's being put in there. And here we go. There are a couple of new ancestries, and one of them are the Aluran. I believe that's how you spell it, or at least how you pronounce it. Right? Like, I know we have the Tanuki, but what about Red Panda? As is usual for this kind of thing, we're not going to go through too much of the lore and stuff like that. We're mostly going to be sticking to the mechanics related to them, but look at that art. That's adorable. They have 8 hit points, size medium, speed 25, attributes boosts to dexterity wisdom with a free one, and a florid strength. Remember, you can always take the optional spread. Red Panda is the koala that isn't lazy. As an Australian, I feel like I should object, but you're not wrong. Though I do feel the need to point out that koalas aren't lazy, they're just high. Languages, they speak Common and Fey, with the additional languages. Traits as usual. But are red pandas highly susceptible to syphilis? I wouldn't know. Never asked one. Low light vision, that's fine. Sacred gourd. You will always carry a gourd that you discovered one day, which holds a deep connection to your Fey origin, and you use as a water skin. This gourd is magically bound to you, and if it is destroyed, it will regenerate at dawn. See, now my interest is piqued. Like, the picture kind of got me in, but... Alright, the heritages. Alluran heritages. Fulgen Alluran. Fulgen Alluran inhabit woodlands, and their reddish and ochre colored fur helps them to camouflage themselves in the forest. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to stealth checks as long as you're in forest terrain. Additionally, when in natural forest terrain, you ignore difficult terrain from undergrowth, and greater difficult terrain from undergrowth is only difficult terrain for you. Familiar good? I'm hoping. Live Alluran. Live Allurans have strong, nimble limbs that allow them to run at high speeds when they move on all fours. If you have both hands free, you can increase your speed to 30 feet as you run on all fours. With a base speed of 25. That means if you have a means with which to be free-handing it, like a monk, there goes you get a speed increase. Makarat Alluran. Makarat Allurans have larger and sharper ears, enabling them to detect even the faintest sounds. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to locate undetected creatures that you could hear within 30 feet with a seek action. As long as you're aware of a creature via sound, once per round, your ears can help you point out the creature to all allies as a free action. Okay, for those who aren't aware, because it's often not something that's really used in the system, point out is a general action. If you discover or have identified a creature, like if one's hiding, you can point it out to others. This takes an action. And once you point it out, you kind of let everyone around you know that, oh, they're over there. Specifically having your ears can help you point out the creature to all allies as a free action. Just tells me that, like, they have the ears perked up, and when they detect someone, the ears kind of point in their direction and then just flatten out towards them. Fuck, I love that. That's actually a really great interaction with a general feat. A general action. Like, that's really clever. Polar Alluran. This is going to be cold resistance. Polar Alluran live in snowy wastelands or mountainous areas, and their fur is thick and of light and white tones, which helps them protect themselves from the cold. You gain cold resistance equal to half your level, minimum 1. You treat environmental cold effects as if they are one step less extreme. Incredible cold becomes extreme cold becomes severe, and so on. That's fine. Like, you get that a lot. Ancestry feats. Alluran lore. This will be your, trained in acrobatics and society. If you automatically become trained in one of the skills, you instead become trained in a skill of your choice. You also get the additional lore general feat for Alluran lore. That's pretty standard. Alluran resistance. For much of your life, you've supplemented your diet with a wide variety of berries, even those that could be deadly to other creatures, and have developed a high tolerance for poisons as a result. You gain poison resistance equal to half your level, and each of your successful saving throws against a poison affliction reduces its stage by 2 or by 1 for a virulent poison. Each critical success against an ongoing poison reduces its stage by 3 or by 2 for a virulent poison. So, just absolutely wipes out poisons pretty quickly. I think dwarves have something similar to that. I know Druidic in the Wednesday Night Revenge of the Runelords game has it. Or has something that gives him resistance to poison. Alluran weapon familiarity. In honor of your ancestors, you favor the weapons they once used. You gain access to and familiarity with the bow staff, great, katana, kukri, star knife, short bow, and wakasashis. For the purposes of proficiency, you treat any of these that are martial weapons as simple weapons, and any that are advanced weapons as martial weapons. At 5th level, whenever you get a critical hit with one of these weapons, you get its critical specialization effect. That's pretty standard. That's also pretty good. I like the bow staff. It's a definite upgrade on the standard quarterstaff. Healing Gourd. See, I was really interested about this. Your innate connection to Fae and primal magic has imbued the water from your gourd with restorative powers. You or an ally can drink from the gourd as an interact action to regain 1d6 hit points plus an additional 1d6 hit points for every 2 of your levels beyond first. So 3rd, 5th, 7th, etc. This effect has the healing and vitality traits. After using this effect, the gourd can still contain water, but the healing powers of the gourd are restored at the next dawn. That's a once per day healing potion. Like, I don't want to say best in slot. But I would be hard. Look, unless the party is going to have a healing cleric in the party, if I was playing Allured, I'd be hard pressed to not pick healing gourd. If I'm being 100% honest. But intimidating presence. You bristle your fur, increasing your size, and tense your muscles, looking more dangerous than you really are. You become trained in intimidation, or in another skill if you're already trained in intimidation, and gain the intimidating glare skill fee. Primal Bond. Your bond with the A-side's fairy magic is particularly potent. Choose one cantrip from the primal spell list. You can cast this cantrip as a primal innate spell at will. A cantrip is heightened to a spell rank equal to half your level rendered out. So, our boy here, that's probably Ignition that he's casting there. I say boy, I'm assuming gender. I don't know what their gender is. How many gold feats can you stack? Well, we're gonna find out, aren't we? Sharpened Claws. You gain a claw on armed attack that deals 1d6 slashing damage. They're in the brawling group and have agile finesse. Twilight Vision, Dark Vision. I'm sorry, Fluffy Spin. One action, Flourish. You make a quick spin to hit your enemies with your tail and make them lose their balance. Attempt an athletics check to trip 2 creatures that are adjacent to both you and each other. This counts as one attack when calculating your multiple attack penalty. You trip them with your fluffy tail. That is too adorable. Shrill Cry, 2 actions, once per minute, auditory. You utter a shrill scream similar to those alluring children use in play fights, but increased to a terrible howl. Choose a creature within 10 feet which must attempt a fortitude save against the higher of your class DC or your spell DC. Love to see that. The target then attempts a will save against the same DC, which is the emotion, fear, mental traits. On a failure, it becomes frightened 1 or frightened 2 on a critical failure. On a critical success, the target is unaffected and automatically succeeds. Oh, they're also deafened. Be cute, do crimes, do so many crimes. So it's a demoralize with a deafened rider. That's pretty cool. Deafen's one of those debuffs that has very particular usage, but can be a lot of fun if you use it well. But the fact that it is just a 10-foot frighten, because one of the things to remember with this, once per minute means pretty much once per fight. So theoretically, you could demoralize then Shrill Cry. Or particularly if someone has already been demoralized, then once the demoralized fear is gone, you can then use Shrill Cry, because these are different effects. Survival Sense. You're always aware of your surroundings, ready to escape at the slightest sign of threats. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus perception checks made as initiative rolls. If you start any of your turns adjacent to an enemy, your movement speed increases by 5 feet until the end of that turn. Oh, I like that. So you can just dash away from people faster. And if you have the heritage that's got you on all fours, then you can kind of just dash for it. For something built as a grimdark setting, this is a very adorable opening, but I think this is supposed to be some very fae flavored, cute, and also terrible. Well, what I will say is that even for grimdark, you have to have the light and the bright and the cute before kind of just slamming into the darker side of things. But we have had a lot of already, like with the elves and the dwarves and the gnomes, that kind of a darker vibe, or at least the heritages and origins that suggest a darker setting for them. Once we're finished with the Alluran, we'll go into the other one I want to do. But I do want to hit up the Bestiary before we're finished, and that's where there's some really great things in there. Touched by Fae requires Primal Bond. Choose one common first rank spell from your primal spell list. You can cast this spell as an 8 primal spell once per day. Yeah, that's fine. Tree Climber. You gain climb speed of 10 feet. Considering what we've seen with other feats, I think that would be fine to just have a 25-foot climb speed, or at least a climb speed that is half or more. Allure and Hug, 2 actions. It's an attack. You rush towards the target, arms wide open, and attempt to wrap your entire body around them like a fluffy ball of fur. Move up to your speed, then attack to grapple a single creature, following all requirements of that action. On a single or critical success, in addition to the regular effects of this grapple action, the target and you roll in a direction of your choice along the ground to a maximum distance of your speed, finishing the movement in 2 valid adjacent spaces. This movement doesn't trigger reactions. So, for 2 actions, that's a grapple and a shove. And also a high speed shove. And you roll in a direction of your choice along the ground to a maximum distance of your speed. Oh, that's kind of nutty. I love it. I like this kind of spectrum range, but I know some people slam the brakes on anything edgeless in their dark settings. Yeah, I get that. But it's even like when you're playing grimdark settings and stuff like that, if there isn't anything that's kind of... If there isn't anything that makes you laugh, or anything that is a little bit fun, it blunts the edge, you know? Ancestral Fae magic. Your bond with the Fae powers grows even stronger. Choose 2 common second rank spells from your primal spell list. So you can essentially just start... Yeah. Just start picking up extra primal spells. Luscious Scent. Your taste for berries has sharpened your sense of smell so much that you instinctively detect the myriad scents they give off. You gain scent as an imprecise sense with a range of 30 feet. Nice. Beautiful. Good. Mitigating Tail. It is a reaction. You are struck by a critical hit that deals physical damage. The fluffiness of your furry tail allows you to cushion the most lethal attack. Attempt a DC 15 flat check. If you are successful, the attack becomes a normal hit. You just floof up your tail and it absorbs the blow. Special senses are good when paired with a free point out. That's very true. Purifying Gourd. This is our first build on the Healing Gourd. The restorative powers of your gourd can eliminate toxins and venoms from your body. When you or an ally uses the gourd to regain hit points, your attempt to counteract a poison the drinker is suffering. Your counteract rank equals half your level. For the roll, you use either your class DC minus 10 or your spellcasting attribute modifier plus your spellcasting proficiency bonus. See, that's just solid. I would like that to be counteracted disease and or poison, just to give it a little bit more usage, but diseases come up so rarely I can understand it. But considering the setting, Probably more diseases. Vigilant Traveler. You are accustomed to long journeys and are familiar with the dangers to the road. When you employ an exploration tactic other than Scout, you and your allies also gain the benefits of Scout unless you choose not to. In addition, you gain a plus 10 foot circumstance bonus to your speed during overland travel. A niche choice, but I'm fine with it. Having more stuff that works for overland travel is good. And this is definitely a case of if people are using like the speed calculations for things like a hexploration or hex scroll, this is good. Maybe that's why diseases might be supposed to be more. In fact, that's actually very true inside. That is true. Blessed by the Fae. So this is our enhancer. Choose one common 3rd rank primal spell and one common 4th rank spell. You can cast each of these spells once per day as primal and aid spells. Lucky Fur Charm. Once per day, you fail a strike or a saving throw. Some stories tell that the fur of Allurans have magical properties and that a few tufts of hair could be used to make protective charms. Some of these stories are true, and you are one of these Allurans who have been blessed with a veil of fortune by the Fae spirits. Reroll the triggering strike or saving throw. You must use the second result even if it's worse. So that's just a general once per day fortune effect. That's fine. One with the Fae, your Fae bond has reached its maximum power and you have become part Fae creature. You gain the Fae trait. Additionally, you gain a +2 status bonus to saves against illusion, emotion, and enchantment effects. And you can use diplomacy to make an impression and to make very simple requests of animals and plants. Very nice. You have weakness to cold iron equal to half your level. Fair. You know what? Let's take it. I'm sorry, planar gourd. An extra-dimensional demiplane grows inside your gourd that appears to be a cozy cabin surrounded by an immense Fae forest. The forest and the cabin can have any feature you imagine. In the forest grows any fruit or vegetable you imagine that can feed a person for one day. When you use the gourd in this way, you and up to 10 willing creatures within 30 feet teleport inside the gourd and can stay inside until your next daily preparations until you activate it again. When you are inside the gourd and activate the gourd again, you and the creatures inside teleport out of it and appear next to the gourd. If the gourd is destroyed while you are inside it, you and the creatures inside it are expelled from the inside and appear prone next to it and take 10d6 damage. Untyped. That's just fun. Man, I really want to make a witch with an object familiar that is this gourd, right? Like, if I was going to say anything about the Alluran, I would like more things to build off of the gourd. Because that is such a fun idea, you could do so much with it. Gourd. Alright. So, chat. Be a little bit chill. So, the Wolver. Now, I know I said I didn't want to go into much of the lore stuff for any of this because you should absolutely buy the book. However, this is a Wolver and it's one of the new ancestries in this book. I like the origin for this ancestry. Lupine humanoids known as mysterious stalkers and genius trappers, Wolvers are sometimes mistaken for Fae beings. Newcomers find most Wolvers standoffish to say the least, but a Wolver friend is a lifelong ally. The Wolvers are descendants of human and elf werewolves who yearn to be free of the curse of brutal lunacy but wish to keep the gifts of nature. They made a bargain with the Fae of the Winter Hunt to grant their wish, frozen forever between humanoid and wolf. Ever since, Fae magic often seems to follow them. Unseasonable frost, eerie disappearances, and unexplained lights are said to vex Wolvers who fail to thank the spirits of nature properly. Right! That is such a clever way to do it! There's a dynasty of werewolf players that applies to. Yeah, like, that's such a good way to handle it. Just like, Oh, spirits, we don't want to go crazy every full moon anymore. Could you, like, do something about that and just get trapped halfway? That's a really clever way to handle the whole, how do we make a dog humanoid species or ancestry without them just being like ascended dogs or something like that. Which, I'm sorry, Shuni players, that's what they are. Yeah, blade likes. Or blood. Like, look at this man's. Look at him. Also, a wolver's typical lifespan is twice that of a human. A wolver's howl can be incredibly loud, audible at a range of 5 to 10 miles. Awesome. Like, you could absolutely play Blade with that. He's absolutely showing for his fur coat. No, you see, what you don't know and what isn't told here is that he specifically like cuts and trims his fur in such a way as to properly display his pecs. He works very hard on those, okay? He wants people to know that they exist. I'd be interested in making a Wolver monk now, right? Pet grooming, yeah, it's a thing. Um, 8 hit points, medium, 25 feet, strength, wisdom, free, attribute, floor, intelligence, so they're himbos. Okay, cool. Languages, common, Norcal. I'm assuming that's a Wolver language, or at least native to the area. Traits, that's pretty standard humanoid Wolver. Scent, they gain scent as an imprecise scent. I think that's probably supposed to be sense. Oh no, you gain a special sense, imprecise scent with a range of 30 feet. Gotcha. This means you can use your sense of smell to determine the exact location of a creature. The GM will usually double the range if you're downwind from the creature or half the range if you're upwind. You know, if the GM is even thinking of that. Heritages. Clawed Wolver. Your claws are long and sharp. You have a claw unarmed attack that deals 1d6 slashing damage. Your claws are in the brawling group and have the agile, finesse, and unarmed traits. I will say straight off the bat that would qualify you for the, what is it? The Claw Dancer archetype? Just having a quick look for it. Just gonna open this up quick, like Claw Dancer. Yeah, there you go. So for those who aren't aware, the Claw Dancer was an archetype in Howl of the Wild that gave you a bunch of different skill, like different attacks and abilities that you could use if you had claws. Also gave you stances. It's kind of awesome. So a Wolver that's a Claw Dancer, mwah! Howler Wolver, your voice is loud as thunder. You don't take a penalty when you attempt to demoralize a creature that doesn't understand your language, and the action's range is 60 feet. Yes! Sorry, do we need to summon G-Wizard? Because this is one of his big things. He wants to demoralize that's longer than, has a bigger distance than 30 feet. Couple rare Wolver, me likey. Yeah, look, I've wanted to play a Claw Dancer for so damn long. So Nick. That's not my name. Oh. Bracket shouldn't be there, but that's fine. I don't think so, but you know. Moon Hunter Wolver, your eyes are attuned to hunting by moonlight and fighting crime by daylight. You have low light vision, allowing you to ignore the concealed condition from dim light. Playing Mythos, yeah, right. And the Winter Wolver, it's what you usually get. Game resistance equal to half your level to treat environmental cold effects as if. So we're going either Claude or Howler. I'm sorry. Like Winter Wolver will work for campaigns in which you're like specifically that's going to be a thing, but. Ancestry feats. I think it is. Like, I'm noticing a lot of that. And here's the man himself. Tarad here is Luis Castro, who is the writer behind the book itself. We're just currently going through the new ancestries in the book, and I'm probably going to dash over to the Bestiary. But, Blood Tracker, you're trained in survival or another skill if you are already trained. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to track a creature or object if you smelled it before. Okay, so even better. You know, put that on with a Ranger. That could be very cool. When you successfully track or seek a creature you can smell, you learn its emotional state or whether or not it had a morph or polymorph effect on it. Oh, that's awful specific, but I like that. So if you're hunting something, if you're like a ranger, you're hunting something and they're a druid or a caster and they use something that allows them to like change into a bird or some other type of animal to escape, you can still track them down. That's fucking brilliant and I like that. Change shape. You transform into a wolf or a common medium humanoid ancestry prevalent where you grew up. Each form has roughly analogous physical traits such as hair or fur color. That's very similar to the Kitsune one. Okay, so morph polymorph features heavily in the setting then. Yeah. I'm definitely getting that vibe. Mistral Trapper, you become trained in the crafting skill and gain the snare crafting feat. Oh, I love that for an ancestry feat. That's good. If you're already trained in crafting, you become trained in another skill of your choice. You gain the snare crafting feat. Werewolf lore, your fellow Wolver taught you to find what you need in the wilds. You gain the trained proficiency rank in medicine and survival. Oh, thanks for the subscription. It's appreciated, Lewis. If you would order, oh, actually, you gain the trained proficiency rank in medicine and survival. Two very interesting and very good choices. If you would automatically become trained in one of those skills, you instead become trained in skill of your choice. You also become trained in were creature lore. I like that the specification there is for were creature lore, not just werewolf lore. That will stop people from being a little bit overly pedantic. Wolf empathy. You can communicate with wolves, dogs, foxes, and other canines as if you shared a language, allowing you to use diplomacy with them. You can use your nature modifier in place of your diplomacy modifier for these checks, and you can use your diplomacy modifier in place of your nature modifier to command an animal if it is a canine. You become trained in your choice of either diplomacy or nature. Wolver weapon familiarity. You're trained with the bullets, longbows, long spears, nets, quarterstaves, short bows, and spears. These weapons are all simple weapons for you. All teenagers are were creatures. That's true. They are in an in-between spot. I like the choice of the longbows there. That's actually pretty cool. I do like that. Okay. Draw trip. Would you allow a homebrew bear version of this? Yeah, I probably would. Honestly, Wolver would work as a good stand-in for anyone who wants to play like a were creature. So, for instance, if you wanted to do a large cat, like a tiger or something like that, I would probably also allow you to use Wolver as the stand-in for it. Because as much as I like the awakened animal ancestry, it doesn't fit everything, and it doesn't necessarily fit the vibe people are going for either. Especially if you're wanting to do something that's more along the lines of the werewolf type of thing. So this works really well. I like this. Jaw trip, 2 actions. You make a jaw strike. After resolving the strike, you can attempt to trip the creature you hit. If the strike hit, your multiple attack penalty doesn't increase for the trip until after you attempted. If the strike was a critical hit, your trip uses the outcome 1 degree of success better. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's... Okay. So, this is a... It's not action compression, but it is map compression. So this is a strike and a trip that uses the same map, essentially. So you don't get the multiple attack penalty on the trip. However, we have the rider there. If the strike was a critical hit, your trip uses the outcome 1 degree of success better than your result. So for instance, if you go to trip them after your strike was a critical hit, and it would be a critical failure, thus putting you on your ass, you would treat it as a failure instead. And likewise, if it was a failure, it would be a success. That's actually very clever. Sure strike value. Not just that, I mean, if you're playing a monk, or a fighter, because you can go unarmed as a fighter. Like anything that would get really good value out of critical strikes. And you can enhance your natural weapons pretty easily. Pack attack. You get a circumstance bonus on unarmed strike damage, melee weapon damage, athletics checks to your attack. The bonus is equal to the number of allies that also have your target within their reach. Ooh. I think that, that would need a limiter. Because, technically speaking, there's no limit on the amount of creatures you can designate as allies. Yeah, allies could be a lot of things, and you could extend it out a lot. I think that would need to have an upper limit on that. Because, for instance, against medium creatures, you could still surround a medium creature up to 9. So I would put an upper limit on that. Like +3 or +4 at the most. Territorial Howl. Trained in intimidation and performance, you howl to the sky, unnerving your rivals. You attempt to demoralize each opponent who can hear you within 30 feet, and you don't take a penalty if the creature doesn't understand you. Creatures you critically succeed against can't move closer to you for 1 round. Oh. Regardless of the results of your checks, each creature is then temporarily immune to Territorial Howl for 1 minute, but not to demoralize. Oh, there we go. You attempt to demoralize. The range increases to 40 feet if you're at least an expert in intimidation, 60 feet if you're a master, or 80 feet if you're legendary. Love the distance increases. I would also like to see it some cross blending, I guess, with the Howler one. If you want to get technical with it, you can do it like the Commander and have your pack be people to drill with on daily prep. Yeah. Look, I would just put an upper limit on it. Wolf Companion. You gain the service of a young animal companion, which must be a wolf or other canine. I like that. That's nice and simple. Though I would... Yeah, there is an upgrade for it. So I would technically have something that allows you to either have it act as the prerequisite for other feats that allow you to increase the... your companions, like, give a mature, all that other stuff. Or have ones built into the ancestry itself. But that's something I could easily fix at a table. Timeless Ward. The ancient magic that created your ancestry infuses a creature, preventing magic from changing them for good or for ill. You target a willing, unconscious, or paralyzed creature within 5 feet. The magic attempts to counteract any curse, disease, morph, poison, or polymorph effect that would begin on the creature thereafter. The counteract modifier equals your nature modifier, with counteract rank equals half your level, rounded up. It could also attempt to counteract an ongoing effect that would progress or transform the target, but counteracting such an effect merely prevents the effect from worsening or changing, rather than ending it. So that could... Once again, we go back to our caster who can take on a battle form. You could stop that from happening. Or if you're up against a proper were creature, you could also probably stop that from happening. Or at least stop them from forever changing. Corruption effects. Resounding Howl. Trained in Intimidation and Performance, once per round you howl, increasing the range of your voice. If the next action you take has the auditory trait in a range of at least 5 feet, the range increases by 30 feet. Oh, I like that! If you're at least an expert in a prerequisite skill, the range increases by 40 feet instead, or by 50 feet of master, or 60 feet of legendary. Range extensions! So this means at level 9, even if you're not a Howler Wolver, you can increase the range of your Demoralized to 60 feet. Up until, what was it? Upwards of 60. So yeah, you could extend it out to 90 feet Demoralized. I love that. Okay, that's cool. Super cool. Unmending Flesh. You can apply your Timeless Ward to a creature you hit with a Jaw Strike on your previous action. When you do, you cause the ward to also counteract any action or effect with the healing trait, so they can't heal. Oh, that's good. So if you're up against a creature that has some auto healing going on, nuh-uh. Is there any real point in taking Howling then? Do many APs have 90-foot areas? You'd be surprised. There's a bunch that I use, like maps and stuff that I use. Also, if you're in a lot of like wilderness areas. Because keep in mind, 90 feet's only, what, 3 move actions? Like, particularly with some of the APs I've been in recently, 90 feet has come up enough that this would be worth it. Wolver Camouflage. Expert in stealth, you are reflexively watchful for any and every place to conceal yourself and others from foes. Allies traveling with you while you avoid notice or have the legendary sneak feat get the benefits of follow the expert in addition to whatever exploration tactic they chose. Creatures who critically succeed at perception checks to seek you, allies within 30 feet of you, or traps or objects you conceal to get a success instead. That's really good as well. and have to remember what happens when they get a critical success, but being able to kind of just stop it from being a critical success is kind of a bonus, especially if you're going down that ranger build for it. And you know, you have the snare crafting stuff. 17th level, Blessing of the Frozen Moment. One action, once per day, the ancient magic that created your ancestry has been perfected in you. Until the start of your next turn, your body can't be changed in any way. You're immune to non-mental, non-spirit damage, as well as effects with the curse, death, disease, morph, poison, or polymorph traits, and you can't regain hit points. You're just straight up immune to non-mental, non-spirit damage. So just tank a dragon's breath weapon. Just nope, nah. And that's really cool for a 17th level feat. Well, it's only once per day. And it's only until the start of your next turn. It takes an action. At 17th level, I would be okay with that. As a GM. Because you also can't regain hit points. So if you've already been hit once or twice, then that's also a turn in which you can't be healed. So it's powerful, it's potent, but I feel it's balanced. That is it for the Wolver though. Ashen Blood. I'm getting the feeling that this ancestry would be adaptable to a lot of different animal geni. Yeah, though, absolutely. Do we want to go for the uncommon heritages? Because I know the Ashen Blood and the Primogen are both uncommon heritages. I'm happy to go through them, but I'm also kind of eager to... I want to go through the Bestiary, and I also want to check out some of the archetypes if we've got time. The ancestries have all been interesting so far. Well, we'll keep going then. Ashen Blood. Whatever you prefer, though. We'll see. Actually, let me do a quick scan through. Oh, they're actually pretty... Okay. And that's a Primogen. Oh, see, the Primogen are kind of cool as well. Okay. I do want to get into... Yeah. Okay. We're probably not going to do the uncommon heritages. Because as cool as they look, I do want to dip into the Bestiary here. Because... Look at him. Look at him. Okay, so this is the Alchemical Guardian. It is a alchemical construct that is mindless. It is also large. Not to be confused with the Noxious Needler. This guy will fuck up your day. Built in line with the new Monster Core monsters as well, even as a kind of construct slash golem. They don't have spell immunity, but they do have reduction resistance to spells for 10. He looks an awful lot like the monster you built. I mean, I built a lot of things. Oh, the Vault Keeper. I can see it. but this guy's definitely different. Actually, what do we say? These constructs were the ancient guardians that guarded Apathia's alchemical laboratories, now abandoned in the lower city. These creatures were an engineering breakthrough, combining complex metallic mechanisms with organic matter. They were the first developments made by alchemists to create artificial life. To complete these creatures, alchemists endowed them with a humanoid brain to follow orders. According to the alchemists, several of these constructs turned out to be defective since they had a will of their own and rebelled against their creators. As a result, their development was halted, leaving only those that wanted the buried structures under the new city of Apathia. The most prodigious alchemists have developed new models of these guardians that they use as assistants in their laboratories. So there you go. There's a player character option, an idea. Be an alchemist, an automated alchemist that was once an alchemical guardian. Fantasy armor core, I like it, hell yeah. Shattered chamber, when the alchemical guardian becomes bloodied, the crystal chamber that contains its brain breaks, splashing the liquid in a 5-foot emanation, dealing 11d6 acid damage. Bloodied, I believe, is half hit points? Unless they have a specific thing in here for that, which they very well might do. Melee, we have 3 melee options. A greatsword, 2d12 plus 13. Yep, that's bloody. Awesome. Because I know it's a term, it just doesn't get used too often. 2d12 plus 13 slashing, metachlor, chamber. That's a lot of options. Brain swap. The alchemical guardian is adjacent to a dead or dying creature. 2 actions. The alchemical guardian removes the brain of the creature. This instantly kills a dying creature. Then it swaps its own with the creature's brain and regains 35 hit points. Oh god. Okay, but I kind of love that. Because what, 35 at 150 hit points, 70, 1, 2, 3, 4. So about a quarter of its hit points can be restored for 2 actions. And that's a flat amount as well. Oh, I like that. Okay, what level are you? What level are you, buddy? Level 10. Could I use you? Do I have a game running at the moment where I can use you? What do we reckon, chat? Shades of Blood? They're level 9. Could definitely use it in Shades of Blood. Just saying. One will murder you. Rune Lords could also work, but they're level 12. They're going to be level 13 soon. Have it as a Rune Lord could do. I would probably have to put the elite template on them to make them more valid. Because I'm just thinking, you have one of these guys out front as like the main bruiser, but you also have like 4 or 5 different like minion creatures, a couple levels lower, so probably like somewhere between the 8 and 6. And just kind of drop their hit points a little bit more. Just kind of be like, we're just gonna give them a little bit less hit points than they usually do, so they die really easily. And then just have your alchemical guardian, after they get messed up a little bit, just reach down, reef out the brain of one of the fallen minions, and just jam it in there and get a hit point buff. That's a really cool ability to our creature. Chain Prison, also 2 actions. The alchemical guardian launches its chain ball against a creature within 30 feet, making a chain ball strike. So we do have a range, 30 feet. Okay, cool. If it hits, the Alchemical Guardian attempts an athletics check to grapple the target. On a success, the Alchemical Guardian can pull the creature adjacent towards it until it's in its reach. Oh, that's brutal. But that's also really cool. I like that. Another. And it also has the constrict. So as long as it's grappling at a creature, it can constrict for one action, just doing a base amount of damage with the DC of 29. Vicious Laceration. I do believe that needs to be an icon change. Because, yay. Could Brain Swap work against PC? Absolutely. PCs are creatures. So a small thing about the system, usually NPCs don't get the dying condition, they just die. Yeah, it's all good. Look, shit, I miss stuff all the time. But it's because dead or dying, that means technically speaking, would their brain then take over the creature? Well, okay, so the scenario we're having in mind here, and we are just on the first creature, so I'm kind of happy we skipped the heritages. So, player has fallen, critical strike. So, dying to whatever. And Alchemical Guardian is like, hey, I could use some more hit points. Pull out the brain, jam it in, get the 35 hit points back. This will kill the dying creature. Now, this would be a PC death. However, as a GM, you could exactly do that, Neeler, and you could kind of be like, hey, do you want to continue on as an Alchemical Guardian? Let's see if you can beat the programming. Let's see if you can continue to exist as yourself. Because there are worse fates than death, and sometimes, by holding on to life, you can create a more dangerous existence for yourself. But Vicious Laceration, 2 actions, the Alchemical Guardian makes 1 Great Sword Strike, 1 Chain Ball Strike, and 1 Metal Claw Strike in any order. This is a alteration on Draconic Frenzy, where they get a Claw Bite and Tail Swipe. I honestly wish more creatures, particularly ones that are kind of designed to 1v the party, like this one creature versus the entire party. I wish more creatures like this had this action. I really do, because they do need some action compression in order to cover the outnumbering that happens to them. Well, now we are going to get into the blight creatures. So I am going to say give the warning once again to people that might have some like body horror dislikes going on. This might not be a great point for you. Just going to say it, but I personally love these things. Blight atrocities. We're going to zoom out. We got to zoom out. Humanoids that succumb to the Crimson Blight become living atrocities. Their arms and nails elongate unnaturally. The fat on their bodies disappears and their skin sticks to the muscles and bones, leaving parts of them visible. Their head changes completely, covering all their features with flesh and leaving only a massive maw with sharp teeth. Creature level 6. It is an aberration. It also has the Blight trait, which is a new trait for Nexaria. As a GM, these speak to me on a primal level. 120 hit points, that's all fine. Acrobatics and athletics, that's also fine. I wouldn't mind seeing them have intimidation as well, but I understand why they aren't there because they don't really have any language. Stenchful aura, 20 feet. The bleeding wounds of the creatures near the blight atrocity ooze with a dizzying stench. A bleeding creature entering the aura or beginning their turn in the aura must succeed at a DC 24 fortitude save or become sick in 1. A creature that succeeds is temporarily immune to the aura for 1 minute. The fact that it only triggers when you're bleeding, I do like that. Perception check or be ambushed? Well. Blight demise. When the blight atrocity dies, it explodes, unleashing acid of blight upon all creatures in a 10-foot emanation, dealing 4d6 acid damage. With a DC 21 basic reflex save, on a failure, a creature becomes Blighted 1 or Blighted 2 on a critical failure. I believe Blighted is a new condition, also introduced in this campaign setting. Look, I'm getting some body horror and also Crimson Rot vibes, and I kind of like it. They're also immune to fear, paralyzed, poison, and sleep. So that's easy done. They have reactive strike. Oh god, these things are deadly. All right. Level 6, okay. Pretty standard. Jaws and a claw. Jaw does the more damage, but claws have agile. Craniotomy. Craniotomy? One action, the blight atrocity has a living creature grabbed or restrained with its jaws. Oh, okay. The blight atrocity uses its internal maw to open the creature's cranium and spread the blight inside it. The creature must attempt a DC 24 fortitude save. On a critical success, no damage. Success, they take 2d8 piercing damage. This would be an awesome game to roll out the cryptic. Oh, you're actually very right there. Failure. The target takes 48 piercing damage and is clumsy 1 for 1 minute. Failure. Critical failure is 8d8 slashing damage, is clumsy 1 for 1 minute and becomes blighted 1, or increases its blighted value by 1. I'm gonna have to check out blighted. We're gonna have to. Where is it? Crimson Blight. Blighted condition. Let's have a look at this. Because we need the context, you see. Blighted is a new type of condition related to Nexaria. You suffer the blighted condition when exposed to excretions of Crimson Blight infected beings or by spending too much time in a place affected by it. Blighted always includes a value. You take a status penalty equal to this value on all your checks and DCs. If your blighted condition reaches value 5, you increase your Crimson Blight contagion stage by 1. Your blighted condition value is then reduced to 0 and the condition ends. Blighted overrides sickened. Ooh, okay. Crimson Blight contagion stages. Well, this is not to expose myself to. Yeah, no, look, I'm with you there, Ninja, but hey. Like, this. Oh, I like this. So, you encounter these creatures that give you blighted, it reaches 5, and then you get bumped up a stage for the contagion. So the evolution of the Crimson Blight in the body comes in stages, each one worse than the last. The negative effects of each stage are cumulative. A creature which reaches the final stage completely succumbs to the Crimson Blight, ceasing to exist as an individual, becoming a new being whose purpose is to spread the Crimson Blight. A player character that reaches this point becomes an NPC under the GM's control. The different Blight stages are as follows. So, important thing to note with that last sentence. That means that they don't necessarily lose any of their class levels or anything like that. Stage 1. Trying to resist the Crimson Blight is futile. The creature has finally succumbed. The first physical symptoms beginning to manifest. These symptoms may appear as open sores, bruised and discolored skin, color changes in visible veins, or another superficial change that is unpleasant to the eye. The host takes a -2 status penalty to deception, diplomacy, and performance checks. No, I'm fine, guys. I haven't been bitten. I'm good. I'm good. Stage 2. Nightmares infect the host's mind when it tries to sleep. Images of nightmarish realms, echoes of voices that should not exist in this world, poison consciousness and prevent restful slumber. After each rest, the host must succeed at a DC 16 flat check or become fatigued until it receives proper rest. That's fucking brutal. Because fatigued absolutely sucks in Pathfinder. Stage 3, the Crimson Blight has parasitized the host's vital organs, modifying them to make them less fit for the host and more habitable for the parasite. The host's life expectancy has been drastically reduced. The host becomes doomed 1 and can't reduce this value, so they're easier to kill now. Oh. Stage 4, the host's internal organs have mutated, rearranged themselves, or have changed in some way that makes them feel alien. Any smell or taste that a host might once have found appetizing now nauseates them. Whenever the host attempts to eat or drink, including potions, elixirs, or similar items, the host must succeed on a fortitude save against the very hard DC for its level, so +5 on whatever DC it is, or becomes sickened 2. Stage 5, Metamorphosis. The blight has spread throughout the host body, infecting it inside and out. The parasite within has rewrought organs, dominated motor skills, and finally comes to the mind. All has come to an end. You are no longer you. Oh. Recovering from the Crimson Blight. We're going to leave that picture for a second. Recovering from the blighted condition is complicated. It is a very slow recovery and cannot be reduced to a previous stage of Crimson Blight by anything but the most powerful and specific magic. Finding and learning such magic should be an epic quest unto itself. After 8 hours of rest, even if they become fatigued due to stage 2 blight, a character that suffered blight damage the previous day can attempt a will save with a hard DC for the character's level. On a success, the willpower is so strong that it pushes back the events of the blight. They decrease the blighted condition value by 1. Resting in certain locations of power, such as leyline crossing or a consecrated area, double this amount. A crimson elixir will also help reducing one's blight condition if one has access to such a thing. A wish ritual or similar magic returns the blight creature to its initial state. The targeted creature removes the blight condition, reduces its crimson blight stage to 0, and if it had suffered any transformation, returns to its original form. Creatures that were in phase 3 or higher lose consciousness for approximately 1 day due to the changes their body undergoes to recover its original form. If the creature had reached phase 5 and thereby metamorphized, it also recovers in its entirety, but the trauma caused by this sudden change causes the target to lose consciousness for about a week. Fair? I feel that's fair. A character this side. I mean, it's possible, but there's the picture for it, by the way. It is interesting that there are no specific details for medicine checks or something like that, but as suggested, this is something that's supposed to be extremely hard to deal with. Now, looking at the bookmarks, there is a bookmark labeled the Eye of Blight. I'm not sure if that's a creature, a god, or something, or an area, but I am very curious and will probably be reading that later. If you want to look into it for yourself, however, I do suggest you check out Arcane Quill Games. But back to our actual creepy boys. They also have sneak attack. A blight atrocity deals an extra d6 precision damage to off-guard enemies, which is fine. It is, I feel like it's good. The fact that their melee attacks don't also just automatically inflict blight. They have to make this specific effort to do it. Okay, GM, would you let a player play a new character that is actually their old character that got blighted? Ooh. So they metamorphized a little bit? Or just kind of had the reset from a recovery? How would the blight affect their mental faculties? By the sounds of things, the parasite would eventually just take over. Metamorphized so much they lost their sense of self? Well, yeah, or old self. So if they reach one of the higher stages, so even at to like stage 2, nightmares infect the host mind when it tries to sleep. Yeah, so cordyceps style. So even if they've managed to reach like stage 2, there's arguments there to suggest that their mental capabilities have been altered in whatever form you want to take that. And recovering suggests that, you know, it takes time for the mind to reset after having gone through such an event. So I would say so. Like, for instance, if a wish has been used to restore someone back to normal, like, would it be possible to have their mind return to them? I will say I do like that wish was mentioned specifically, though, to kind of create a baseline. The bigger creatures! The Blight Abomination is an aberration produced by an out-of-control crimson blight within its host, an impossible internal struggle until the symbiote ultimately prevails. The result is a massive creature that continues to mutate uncontrollably, producing and destroying constantly increasing amounts of muscle and bone tissue. Instead of a head, it has a huge jaw with multiple rows of teeth from which protrudes a grotesquely long tongue, and instead of a gut, it has a second mouth that does not stop drooling. You should also check the Blight Acolyte archetype. Ooh, okay. How are we doing for time? We do have some time. I did want to actually check out the archetypes before I finished here. It'd almost be more interesting if it was the blighted body of the original PC with a new personality. Yeah. Oh, look at that. That's so gross. I love it. Dark Vision, Apparition Blight. Has all around vision. So that means it can't be flanked. Or at least it can't be off guard via flanking. This also means it shuts down a lot of rogue abilities. Or at least the easiest way with which rogues get their sneak attack. Blight Demise, that's just an upgrade on the Blight Demise from our Atrocity. Frightful Presence, love to see it. Speed 25 feet. Jaws, Claw, Tongue. What are we? Large, okay. Regurgitate, 2 actions. The Blight Abomination vomits blood and half-digested detritus that deals 5d6 acid damage in a 30-foot cone. Creatures that critically fail become blighted 1 or increase their blighted value by 1. You can't use Regurgitate again for 1d4 rounds, so a pretty standard breath weapon, but we are tying back into the whole blighted thing. Like, it's dangerous, yeah? Like, dealing with these things, you would not want to get close. Swallow Whole, medium, 3d12 plus 8 bludgeoning, rupture 29. So it can swallow 1 medium creature or X amount of small creatures, etc., etc. And they take 3d12 plus 8 bludgeoning damage every turn. Yeah, the art for this is fucking amazing. Voracious Charge. The Blight Abomination strides twice, ignoring difficult terrain, then makes a jaw strike at the end of its movement. As long as it moved at least 20 feet, it gains a +2 circumstance bonus to its attack roll. So run, bite. So 50 foot of range. Well, 50 foot of running with a bite at the end. And the bite is their big one. It has a reach of 10. So that's what, 6, 9. If the next one is 12, I'm going to be exceedingly happy. Oh, fuck yes. Okay, so I don't know if Tarhod has done this intentionally or not, but when you see a family of creature jumping by 3, there's a reason for that. And it usually has to do with the kind of gap you can create using making encounter groups. So for instance, with a Blight Atrocity, you can put either the weak or elite template on it. If you put the elite template, yeah, I'm damn sure you did this on purpose. So if you put the elite template on a level 6 creature, that only puts it 2 levels below the 9th variant of it. So when you're putting together a moderate combat encounter and you only want the 3 creatures, you can do 2 of the atrocities with the elite template and 1 abomination. Or alternatively, put the weak template on it and have 4 of them. And because they're jumping by 3 each time, you can build similar encounter groups. This makes it supremely easy for a GM. Because this also means if that's in the right range for it, I can have a dragon and then 4 atrocities running around the battlefield making problems for everyone. That's so good! We love it when material is actually written with GMs in mind, right? It means that if you have an entire family of creatures, it means that from a certain level onwards, the creatures continue to be useful. It's something I run into a lot when, for instance, I was doing the Akata stuff for Hoist the Colors. I manually had to do a lot of it, but I did the 3 level jumps for them as well, because it just makes sense. But the Blight Dragon. The first dragons that succumbed to the Crimson Blight were transformed into even more terrifying creatures. These dragons have since spawned other Blight Dragons, corrupted since birth. Oh no! You mentioned this would be getting Foundry support, right? So all these are potentially drag and drop and just one button adjusted? Absolutely. Like, because if you have... Working on it, yeah. If they have, if it's in like the right level ranges, then I could easily just grab the 5, put them into Foundry myself, and run an adventure using these blighted creatures. Like, that's super easy. I think the only, speaking as someone who has done a bit of Foundry programming, I think the only problem you would have would be the blighted condition, but that's just a new condition and wouldn't be too difficult. And you'd probably just have to use the same programming as Sickened and just adjust it slightly. But that's doable. I like that these creatures have frightful presence as soon as you got into the Abomination and higher. We'd love to see it. Blight Demise, also love to see it. That means that we have consistent abilities that are going up through the family of creatures. This is a big thing for me, where if you have a family of creatures and they all have similar things, it means that the players are familiar with things that are going to happen, so they can prepare and plan around it. Ah, love it. Okay. Bloodburst. Reaction. The dragon takes piercing or slashing damage. The dragon's oozing skin rips open, spraying out a stream of acid blood. The triggering creature takes 7d6 acid damage with a DC 32 basic reflex save. Creatures that fail to save are exposed to blighted blood. Okay, so it's just got a built-in let's blight you thing. Cool. Let's glow. Hey, Karaga, we're looking at creepy shit. 76, piercing or slashing. Yeah, right. But it's a reaction. They don't get extra reactions. And they also have reactive strike, so the GM has to make a choice. That's good. All right. Joe's claw and tail. They have a ranged attack. They don't have a breath weapon unless it's on the next page, which it could be. Blood Clot, plus 25. That's the thing that will activate a Blighted Blood. 2d8 plus 10 acid plus Blighted Blood. That's pretty brutal. 100-foot range. That means a maximum range of 400 feet because it's designated as a ranged attack, not a ranged ability. Arcane innate spells, Grim Tendrils, Magic Passage, Toxic Cloud, Invisibility, Darkness at Will. So that's something they just start a fight with. Oh, we haven't mentioned a Blighted Breath. Okay, so we got more incoming. But Blighted Blood targets hit by a Blood Clot strike or by Blood Burst must succeed at a DC 30 Fortitude save or be Blighted 1. The Blight condition is cumulative with itself and with the Blight condition from the Blighted Breath. Oh, here we go. Love it. And there is our boy. Look at that. Tabletop Obscura, remember you've said PFS can be counted as an iconic villain. What do you mean by that? Quickly. So in the past, the Pathfinder Society have done some pretty horrible shit. If you look into particularly the PFS scenarios from first edition, a lot of the leaders of the PFS were doing some pretty terrible things. Including like stealing artifacts, doing all sorts of political stunts and running about. Also, the coup within the Pathfinder Society was what was responsible for the almost destruction of Absalom in the cumulative event that ended the first edition. And that is why PFS can be counted as an iconic villain. So what I'm hearing is this is the setting goal we'll be writing for and then writing for the stream of one. Well, what do we reckon? Hey, you're fine, Karago. I contain approximate knowledge of many things. It'd be really interesting. I mean, I could. My current idea is to have the players as level 5, so we could put them up against Blight Atrocities. Just as something of a concept or an idea. Also, as I understand it, there aren't really any adventures for Nexaria yet, so I possibly could do it. Blighted Breath. Acid, Arcane, and Blight. The Blight Dragon breathes a spray of acid and blood that deals 12d6 acid damage in a 40-foot cone. Oh boy. On a failed save, a creature becomes Blighted 1 or increases its Blight value by 1. The Blight Dragon can't use Blighted Breath again for 1d4 rounds, so pretty standard. Use that for a drop, then write up a full adventure later. Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea, Neilern. Like, ooh, that is a good idea. I will think about it. Because I feel like Galarian has enough adventures. Let's let another setting have some fun. Corrupt Nature. 1 action, Arcane or Concentrate. Karaga, this is Nexaria, which is a campaign setting that was specifically done for Pathfinder 2nd edition. I feel it shares some similarities with Rock Grind. But I don't know, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of liking this. But, Corrupt Nature. A bit of shared inspiration. Oh, look. I think things like Bloodborne and just the general dark body horror vibes have been around for a very long time. Corrupt Nature. Once per day, the dragon permanently corrupts a region in a 5-mile radius. For what action it does this? Okay, plants and water become blighted and toxic, liquids become undrinkable and unable to support water-breathing life, and plants that were edible have an acid taste and are not nourishing. This destroys liquid magic or chemical items if they're of a lower level than the dragon. Oh god! A creature can attempt a DC 32 will save to protect liquids or edibles in its possession. This doesn't affect the liquids in a creature's body or creatures with the plant, water, or wood traits. The Blight Dragon ignores any difficult terrain caused by plants or liquids in the corrupted region. Oh boy! That's a way to spread some blight. Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and The Lost God. I actually haven't heard of The Lost God. I'm gonna pull that up on... not on stream, but I'm gonna have a look for it. Yeah. Draconic, but yeah, no, Corrupt Nature. So a 5-mile radius is a pretty big area. So it is entirely possible to be on the border, be like, okay, we're going to be entering into the blighted area in like the next day or so. So let's rest up, be chill, and then just kind of go in. But then overnight, Blight Dragon comes in within like the 5-mile radius, corrupts nature. All of a sudden, everyone in the area is having a bad time. Like everything just becomes gross. Okay. Plants and water become blighted and toxic. So does that mean drinking it would... I would at least apply a fortitude save. But yeah, Karaga, this is a full 200-page setting guide. Let me actually drop the link again. There we go. Draconic Frenzy, which is pretty standard for a dragon. Draconic Momentum. Also pretty standard. Swallow whole, love to see it. Large. That's our Blighted Dragon. Blight Horror. So we have an alternative at the 12th level range. Love to see it. When a creature of great size or consciousness succumbs to the Crimson Blight, its body often mutates uncontrollably and several symbiotes emerge within the same body, causing the host's muscles and bones to grow to colossal proportions. During this mutation process, the more powerful symbiotes eliminate the weaker ones until only one remains. The final result of this struggle leaves the host's body covered in numerous jaws, eye bulbs, huge tendons, muscle fibers, and bone matter that lacks any natural coherence. These hulks are extremely dangerous not only due to their enormous strength, but also because they are the most intelligent blight abominations and know how to take advantage of their mutant body. Fuck! This would make for an interesting second phase as the boss weakens and succumbs to the blight. Yeah! That's a terrible idea. I love it. Once again, we have the Frightful Aura. 3 different melee attacks, the jaws, the claw, and the tongue. Blight Contagion, there we go. This is the blight that's built into, because we're seeing the monsters starting to progress and get more dangerous. Targets hit by a Joro Strike must succeed at a DC 32 Fortitude save or become Blighted 1, Blighted 2 on a critical failure. The blighted condition is cumulative with itself. Devour, 1 action. The Blight Horror has a creature grabbed or restrained. The jaws of the Blight Horror's hands sink into the creature to eat its flesh and drink its blood, dealing 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage for the DC 32 basic fortitude save. Creatures that fail to save become drained 1, and the Blight Horror regains 25 hit points, gaining any excess hit points as temporary hit points for 1 minute. Oh, that's horrible. I love it. Devouring a creature that's already drained doesn't restore any hit points to the Blight Horror, but increases the creature's drain value by 1. So it can only do it once per creature. Like, get the hit points back once per creature. So that gives it a top end way to top end amount that it can heal with. Once again though, you wouldn't want to run up a whole troop of creatures up against this thing. Oh, it's got more. Okay. Monstrous Frenzy. The Blight Horror makes 2 claw strikes and 1 tongue strike in any order. Love to see it. We got some action compression once again. Sneak attack? Oh, that's okay. I love that. 2d6 precision damage, that's fine. Stretching Grasp. The Blight Horror extends its arm at an incredible speed, unnaturally elongating to reach a target within 30 feet and makes a claw strike. If the strike hits, the creature becomes grabbed. The Blight Abomination then retracts its arms, pulling the creature as grabbed 15 feet closer to itself. So this is more for people who have been around with Pathfinder 2 for a while. So our claw here has the slashing plus grab. Now with the new rules from the remaster regarding grab, it doesn't automatically succeed. So you do your claw strike, it's a success, you spend another action, you do the athletics check to grab. It could pass or fail. So to do the claw plus the grab, 2 actions. What Stretching Grasp does is it works the grab the same as the pre-remaster version. So if you hit with the claw strike, it also does the grab. And the 30-foot increase in range with the automatic pull into it makes it a kind of very frightening thing to have to deal with. I feel sorry for any player who has to deal with this thing. Voracious Charge. Once again, we're seeing that fantastic thing of abilities building on themselves from earlier creatures. This is the same as the one from our Abomination from earlier. It strides twice, makes a draw strike at the end of its movement. As long as it's moved out at least 20 feet, it gains a +2 circumstance bonus to its attack roll. Once again, because it is building on previous things, the players know what they're dealing with. So this means a consistent enemy that has new tricks up its sleeve, but you can plan for it, or at least plan for some of it. Blightspawn! Ah, there we go. Creature level 3. Perfect. Medium Aberration Blight. When the Crimson Blight affects creatures that are less resistant to its effects, such as small or medium-sized animals, they are transformed into hive mind-controlled spawn, whose sole purpose is to spread the blight as much as possible. Minions! Friend-shaped? Friend-shaped? I mean... We're gonna have to look at the Blight Acolyte after this. Blight Demise, same as we've seen before, but this is the lower grade version for the lower creature. It has 3 different melee attacks: Jaws, Claw, and Tail. Ranged, okay. Digestive Spew. Range increment, splash. Oh, it has splash. 2d6 acid damage plus 1d4 splash acid damage. I like that. Drill Prey. The Blight Spawn makes 3 tail strikes, but no more than 2 at any one target. If 2 strikes hit the same target, the Blight Spawn can use grab on it. Okay, so you're kind of inclined to do at least 2 on one of the creatures. That's fine though. Sharp Leap. The Blight Spawn leaps up to 20 feet horizontally and up to 10 feet vertically, and then makes 1 claw strike and 1 tail strike in any order. Oh. Okay, so 2 things. 1, I want to see a swarm of these things. Like, I want to see a swarm and perhaps even a troop of them. Like a swarm of Blight Spawn and maybe a troop of the Atrocities. I think that would be super cool and kind of really deadly. But this Sharp Leap, like a 20-foot horizontal and up to 10 feet vertically, that's a fair distance to cross. Like if you're hiding on a barricade, like hiding behind a barricade or a wall or in a window or something like that, it's just gonna clear it. Imagine a siege situation with a heap of these, right? Like we gotta hold the keep for like 5 days or something, so the people can get evacuated. Like, fuck. See, I've been talking to a friend of mine a lot, and they're really into like apocalypse scenarios and stuff like that. You could absolutely do an apocalypse type scenario with these creatures. This is mwah. We got an hour left. I kind of want to start looking at some of the archetypes, because we have been given permission. Yeah, I'm not going to go for all the creatures. We're going to at least check out a couple of archetypes. We might come back. I will say, however, just as a quick kind of show and tell for the creatures in this book without going too deep into them, Villains are stage bosses. Tara, did you want me to cover one of the villains? Because you have a couple here. If there's one in particular you want me to talk about, I'm happy to cover them and then go into the archetypes. You're free to cover whatever you want. Okay. Some of these guys are so creepy though. Look at them. I remember seeing the picture for the Old Blood Deacon. Like, look at that fucker. Like, vampires wish they were this brutal. Red Wings, so a type of small fae. Their queen. Oh, see, I like that. Rats in the basement. What you find at the end of the basement. Any of these could easily be slotted into Shades of Blood. I think they're a bit past for the Red Wings, but definitely for more early on. Absolutely. Shizetta. So we kind of have our large plants with like the humanoid type features. Siren. An actual siren that looks like a siren probably should. Okay, see, I did actually want to look at the Spell Devourer a little bit closer. These twisted creatures' fragile magical essence, it remains unclear whether their existence stems from the deformation of uncontrolled magic that transformed into these beings, or if they are drawn to significant concentrations of magic either from other planes or unknown regions in Nexaria. They first emerged in the Ruptured Veil, lured by the enduring concentrations of magic resulting from the Great War fought there. Their appearance varies depending on the type of magic they have consumed. The most magic practitioners strive to avoid these creatures at all costs, as a prolonged confrontation with them can rapidly deplete their magical reserves. Creature level 9. Borrow languages. The Spell Devourer can read and speak all languages known by creatures within range of its telepathy. I like that. Magic sense. The Spell Devourer detects sources of magic within 60 feet as an imprecise sense. So that's gonna... if anyone's ever wondered why you have a reason for Master Weimer or anything that suppresses your magical presence, it's against one of these. Energy adaptability we'll get to in a second, but I do like it when we have specific creatures with ability to stop spells. Because as a spell enjoyer, I always find these interesting. Consume spell reaction. The Spell Devourer succeeds on a saving throw against a spell. The Spell Devourer attempts a counteract check against the triggering spell. If successful, the Spell Devourer is unaffected by the spell and gains 3d8 hit points. Whoa. So it's a reaction. They could only do it like once, but I'm seeing it already. There's an action there. All right. Whenever the Spell Devourer takes energy damage, they gain immunity to that damage type. If they had immunity to a different damage type, they replace the old one with the new immunity. The Spell Devourer starts with one random immunity: acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic. So you have to keep swapping them up. If someone shows up with a fire magic, like they throw ignition out or something like that, then they're going to be immune to ignition and they're going to have to switch to something else. Spellcasters, remember to diversify your damage types. Yes! Always diversify if you can. I would say springing this as a surprise on a group, on a party, would be pretty nasty, but well within your limits for a darker campaign. Devour Magic. The spell Devourer's last action was successful. Jaw Strike. The spell Devourer attempts to counteract check against a magical effect affecting the target. On a success, the magical effect ends and the spell Devourer gains 3d8 hit points. So Haste, Long Strider, Shield, Mage Armor. These common buffs that happen a lot, this thing can take them out. I do like this. So this is a good balance for a creature that is anti-magic without being obnoxious. So the reaction means it can only stop one spell per turn. So if you have multiple casters in the group, you can just have someone, you know, specifically be like, okay, I'm just gonna throw a cantrip at it, trigger its reaction, and then everyone else can pile in with their actual big spells. And Devour Magic means that this thing has a counter against a lot of those pre-priming spells that people who are a little bit too keen on the White Room mathematics get into their heads to like too much. Keep in mind though, this is not a mindless creature, so it might kind of learn your tactics. Now, what we're going to do is we have 4 villains, so I'm going to run a poll. Which villain? We're going to have Crooked Owl, Forsaken Archcustodian, Old Blood Vessel, and the Fawn Titan. Well, we're gonna run a poll. I'm gonna do it for 10 minutes. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the archetypes and at least go through the Blight Acolyte. Old Blood Deacon goes to the Old Blood Vessel. Okay, so we have an upgrade situation there. So I have a poll up. There's 4 different villains. We're gonna go to the archetype and go for at least one of them and then come back to the villain of whoever wins. Because I don't want to do all of them. See, I'm already seeing additional feats and it's things like Tap Vitality, Warped Constriction, Pact of Eldritch Eyes, and Echoing Spell. So, Blight Acolyte. You can feel a dangerous power growing within you, flooding your body with strength and magic, but also clouding your mind at times. Can you tap into the Crimson Blight's power without losing yourself completely? Ooh. I kind of remember a conversation we had about this type of thing, Lewis, ages ago when we were working at Sinclair's. But the dedication is, of course, uncommon because you have to have contact with the Crimson Blight. Another mind shares your body, telepathically whispering to you and inspiring you with surges of unexpected emotion. It has its own edict, expose creatures to the Crimson Blight, and an anathema, cure people of the Crimson Blight, I would imagine. You and the GM should together decide the symbiote's attitude, anathema, and how it affects your actions. Its meddling also shields you from other influences on your mind, giving you a +1 circumstance bonus on saving throws against effects with the mental trait. Keeping in mind that because of the inherent things of the setting, mental effects are going to happen more often. When you start your turn confused or controlled, your first action is determined by your Blight symbiote instead of either condition. The GM has final say on its choice. If your actions on your turn would be reduced by the stunned condition, they are reduced by 1 fewer, and your first action that turn is controlled by your Blight symbiote. That's really good. That's actually really great for a... That's very evocative to for the flavor of what's being gone for here. while also giving it a really cool effect. So Venom, yeah, like it's that kind of thing. A little bit more invasive, I think, but yeah. All right, recording started again. That's fine, we're gonna have 2 versions. But no, the fact that if your actions on this turn were reduced by the stun condition, they reduced by 1 fewer, and your first action that turn is controlled by your Blight Symbiote. Like, that's great. And I'm already seeing a couple of things here where it's like 1 action, reaction, that kind of thing. Blight Spike. You grow a long, flexible tentacle. You can use it to perform interact actions requiring a free hand, even if your hands are occupied. Your tentacle can't perform actions that require fingers or significant manual dexterity, including any action that would require a check to accomplish, and you can't use it to wield a weapon or a shield. An unarmed attack with the tentacle deals 1d4 piercing damage, and the target must succeed at a fortitude save against the higher of your class DC or spell DC or become blighted 1. If the target fails, is then temporarily immune to the blighted condition from your Blight Spike for 24 hours, but not to other effects. This unarmed attack is in the brawling weapon group and has the agile, finesse, and reach traits. Reach is really fun, like especially on agile. Oh, see, I'm super curious now. Okay, so chitinous skin. You gain resistance to physical damage equal to your number of class feats from the Blight Acolyte archetype. Beautiful, nice, basic. See, there was a time where I would be more questioning of this kind of feat, but then I encountered the Guardian and I'm like, yeah, no, it's fine. Blight Spray. Reaction. You take acid, fire, force, physical, sonic, or void damage. Corrosive crimson blight coursing through your veins erupts in a 10-foot cone in the direction of your choice. The spray deals 1d8 acid damage with a basic reflex save against your spell DC or class DC, whichever is higher. If that proficiency is expert, the damage increases to 2d8. If it's mastered, the damage is 3d8, and if it's legendary, the damage is 4d8. That's pretty good. I like to see that kind of scaling, especially on a reaction. On a failure, a creature must succeed at a fortitude save against your spell DC or class DC, whichever is higher, or become blighted 1. Or increase their blighted condition by 1 if they already have the condition. On a critical failure, increase the blighted condition by 2. If you can't use this reaction again until you can't use this reaction again until you gain at least 1 hit point. Okay. That's actually a really good limiter on this as well, and fits the theme quite well. Blighting Spell. Okay, see, a lot of people take the shit out of spell shapes, but I think archetypes that have a really evocative flavor are really where spell shapes can shine. You infuse Blight into your spell. If your next action is to cast a spell that deals damage, it deals additional acid damage equal to its spell rank. If the spell is not a cantrip and targets only a single creature, the damage is persistent and targets must succeed at a fortitude save against your spell DC or become blighted 1. So as a blighted acolyte, you're just kind of spreading it around. Redundant physiology. Your symbiote has grown redundancies from most of your organs and your life force has become splintered by the intrusion of the Crimson Blight. You get a +2 circumstance bonus on saving throws against diseases and poisons. You'll also get this bonus on saving throws against any spell or effect that works on only a limited number of creatures unless the caster targets you and your blight symbiote separately. That's mean, but I love it. So yeah, any of like the enfeebling stuff as well? Slowed as well? That's really good. Blight Transfusion. You mend the flesh of an unconscious or willing creature with your reach by implanting a bit of your Blight Symbiote into it. That creature regains hit points equal to 2d8 plus your level, and you lose hit points equal to your level. Then the target must succeed at a fortitude save against your spell DC or class DC, whichever is higher, or become blighted 1. The target is then temporarily immune for 1 hour. So, comrade, I can heal you if you so wish. However, you may become infected as well. Yeah, right, the art? Actually, let's zoom out a little. Let's get the full spread there. Also, I like that he's wearing one shoe. Like the other shoe just gave up at some point and they were like, nah, whatever. Blight Invasion. Prerequisites, dedication and blight spike. Frequency once per hour. Your previous action was a strike with your tentacle unarmed attack that hit a living creature. You plant a bit of your blight symbiote into the required creature. That creature must attempt a fortitude save against your spell DC or class DC, whichever is higher. Critical success. Unaffected success, they're stunned 1. Failure, 3d4 persistent acid damage and slowed 1 while the damage persists. Critical failure. This is what we're after. 64 persistent acid damage and is controlled by you for its first action on each of its turns until the persistent damage ends. Your Blight Symbiote can override one of these commands if it wishes. So definitely talk to your GM about this kind of thing, but that's kind of cool. How we doing on that poll? We're doing pretty good. It's almost done. We are going to be looking at the Old Blood Vessel. All right. Do I want to show the picture first? Oh god, this is like a 2-page spread, isn't it? That's level 21, so this is our like end game boss. All right, let's go. Do we want to go back to the Deacon just so we have the context? No, I think we're good for now. When an Old Blood Deacon transcends the limits of undeath, they become a vessel of an Old Blood deity. This vessel uses the Deacon's body to be reborn, retaining some of the deity's powers but in a diminished form. Their purpose is to pave the way for the arrival of the Old Blood deities and bring the eternal night. So you have the whole thing of like the blight and everything else like that, but if you want to use this setting to do like a really dark vampire thing, like something a little bit more along the lines of Bloodborne, or just mix the two together. Oh, okay. No, this is fine. They're rare, they're huge, they're a villain, they're undead, and they're unholy. Ooh. Ooh. Villain points. The Old Blood Vessel has a pool of 3 villain points and can spend those villain points to use the following actions. Cleanse Condition, 1 action. Costs a villain point. The Old Blood Vessel attempts to counteract 1 condition affecting it. Free action, Dire Resolve. The Old Blood Vessel fails a check. The Old Blood Vessel re-rolls a check. So these are villain points. Of course they are. They're the flip side for the hero points. That's a really good mechanic. See, Lewis, I'm not sure if you're still listening, but here on this channel, our dear everyone who is in chat who has accumulated up to 1,000 channel points. Let's do it's house rule, isn't it? House rules. There we go. So people in chat can spend 1,000 channel points and give me, as the GM, a villain point. Now, I have threatened on more than one occasion with this kind of thing. Like, grab some villain, like I can use the villain points to do these kind of actions and effects. I've tinkered with it once or twice, but I fucking love the idea that you've actually taken the system and run with it. This is so fucking cool. Reaction, Dreadful Misery. A creature the Old Blood Vessel can see attempts an attack roll, saving throw, or skill check. The target gets a result 1 degree of success worse than the outcome of its attack roll, saving throw, or skill check. That's really good. And it's on the attempt. It's not in response to. That's also really nice. Basic villain template on page 202. Okay, we're gonna go through the Old Blood Vessel and then we'll back up to the template. Because if I can start putting a villain template on things, I think my players are gonna start hating you. Okay, +2 saves to all saves versus magic. Yeah, that's fine. Avoid healing because it's undead. Standard immunities, weakness to holy, also fine. Specified magical silver, we like that. Frightful presence, also good. Sanguine mist. The Old Blood Vessel is bloodied. The Old Blood Vessel emanates a poisonous crimson mist from their body. Any creature that ends its turn in the mist takes 5d6 poison damage. Ooh. How big's the mist though? I'm assuming it would be a 5-foot emanation. Unless there's something further down. We'll see. Bloodied. There was a thing about bloodied, so I'm sure that will be in there. Adaptive resistance. When the Old Blood Vessel is bloodied, they gain resistance 20 to the damage type that made them bloodied. Oh, that's mean. That's so mean and I love it. So what this means is if, for instance, we take out Barbarian with its great sword, they've kind of revved up, they've been given haste, they have flanking, they leap in there, they do the big crit, do like the 80 or something points of damage, takes them to the bloody point, and then all of a sudden the Old Blood Vessel is more resistant to that damage. I love that. Also, you could do this to precision, because I don't think it's immune to precision, no. So if the rogue sneaks up and does its like ridiculous amounts of damage, as they tend to do, you can just give them resistance 20 to precision. Reactive strike, also good. Speed 70 feet. Okay, so they can move. Visceral sword, claws, jaws, improved grab, improved grab. That means they don't have to spend an action to do the grab after they've succeeded on the attack. A built-in persistent bleed. We also love to see it. Innate spells 10, 9, 7, 6. Oh, you haven't gone all the way to 1. We love to see this, Lewis. So this is another thing that I kind of really hate. So on average, if you have a casting villain or a casting NPC, if they're in a fight, your average fight won't last longer than about 5 rounds on the outside. So having a large list that goes beyond more than like 3 levels or 3 ranks of spells is kind of pointless and just takes up a lot of room on the page that's not needed. And also, if the GM is in a panic and is kind of looking for a spell in a hurry, having too many spells filling up the lower ranks that aren't really necessary and won't really do anything is just pointless. So having only spells of like the first couple of ranks down from where they can maximally cast is a really great thing and is a really great quality of life for GMs. Otherwise, things that we'd expect: Massacre, Wails of the Damned, Darkness, Eclipse Burst, Chilling Darkness, Vampiric Insanguination. Void Warp for a cantrip, beautiful, and Constant True Sight and True Speech. So invisibility is not going to do shit. And with this kind of creature, you'll love to see it. Bloody Momentum. The Old Blood Vessel recharges their regurgitate blood whenever they score a critical hit with a strike. We haven't seen regurgitate blood yet. I have something to look forward to. Devour the Weak. 3 actions. Requirements. The Old Blood Vessel doesn't have a creature grabbed in their mouth. Effect. The Old Blood Vessel attempts to feed on creatures in their path. They stride up to double their speed and can move through the spaces of large or smaller creatures, biting each creature whose space they enter. The Old Blood Vessel can attempt to bite the same creature only once in a single use of Devour the Weak. The Old Blood Vessel deals 4d10 plus 20 piercing damage with a DC 44 basic reflex save and regains 25 hit points per creature damage. Gaining any excess HP is temporary. Okay, so we are seeing flat amounts for healing, like regaining on your healing. I kind of like it. Look, there have been so many times where, as a GM, I have cast a spell like healing or any of the other healing abilities that are out there, and it's kind of like your villain spends the 2 actions to do this and then only heals like 4 hit points, and you're like, that was such a waste. Such a waste. So I like that there are built-in abilities here that just do a flat amount of healing. And for a darker setting where this kind of thing would happen, or at least should happen, having your villains having a flat amount of healing creates an extra threat on the players, because they know that those abilities are going to heal a lot. Feast on Blood. 2 actions. The Old Blood Vessel feeds on a creature that is bleeding within 10 feet of them. The Old Blood Vessel sucks the blood from a distance, dealing 20d6 void damage to the target and healing themselves for half the void damage dealt. On a failed save, the target becomes drained 2. A victim's drain condition decreases by 1 per week, not per day. A blood transfusion, which requires a DC 20 medicine check and sufficient blood, or a blood donor, reduces the drain by 1 after 10 minutes. Feasting on blood from a creature that's already drained doesn't restore any HP to the Old Blood Vessel, but increases the victim's drained value by 1, killing the victim when it reaches drained 5. Once again, we have that kind of gating that they can only use this ability to heal once per creature, but is still super valuable, which means it shares it around. I like this because it means that more antagonistic GMs won't just hone in on one person and just drain them over and over again. Regurgitate Blood. I'm trying not to show the picture quite yet. The Old Blood Vessel regurgitates a spray of blood that deals 20d6 void damage in a 40-foot cone. On a failed save, a creature takes an extra 2d6 persistent bleed damage. The Old Blood Vessel can't use regurgitate blood again for 1d4 unless it gets the Bloody Momentum, so they score a critical hit with a strike. Swallow Whole. We're gonna see a big more than. Vampiric Wings Divine. The requirements: the Old Blood Vessel is bloodied. A pair of huge vampiric wings grow from the Old Blood Vessel's back, gaining 150 fly speed. Let's have a look at this thing. Ooh. Oh. So hell yeah? Like, we're all seeing this, right? Cool shade. Yes, hell yeah. This feels excessive for, like, ending Shades of Blood, right? Not at all. We might have to, like, downgrade the numbers on it a fair bit, yeah? But I can do that. I'm a competent GM. I've made some monsters in my time. Half of his salary goes to the dentist. Yeah. No, TPK fits the setting. I'm gonna see. I'm going to have a look at what the end boss encounter is for Shades of Blood. But we might be swapping it up just a little bit, okay? But it's fine. My players aren't in chat. They're not getting spoiled for anything. Surely they won't watch the VODs for this. Actually, Bill might. But he usually listens to them in the car, so it should be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Though that said... Damn it! Yeah, I was about to say, now that we've looked at the Old Blood Vessel, I am going to go back to the Deacon. Oh no, he's level 11, chat. Ten levels between them. That's kind of perfect. Because Shades of Blood finishes at level 10. Among the followers of the Old Blood gods are mainly vampires and blood-feeding creatures, as well as mortals who aspire to attain immortality by joining their ranks. Sounds kind of spot on, right? Like, in Shades of Blood, they're dealing with Thessalonian vampires. Or, Aslanti vampires. So vampires from like hundreds, thousands of years in the past. So Old Blood vampires works really well for the concept. Those who heed the voices of the Old Blood seek to extend vampiric reign across the world, plunging it into eternal night. So the current plot for Shades of Blood is that the entire area has been plunged into night. Like, the entire area is just covered with shadow. Yeah, a big bad for the end of this campaign might be getting a little bit of a facelift. The Old Blood Deacons serve as the leading agents in this endeavor, spreading the dark teachings of their doctrine and attracting more believers to become avatars of their vampiric gods. Undead, unholy vampire, as you would expect. Children of the Night, the Old Blood Deacon's presence brings bat or spider swarms to do the master's bidding. The Old Blood Deacon can give telepathic orders to these creatures as long as they're within 100 feet, but they can't communicate back. That's pretty good for a vampire. Coffin restoration, fast healing, void healing. Yep, that's all good. Old Blood whispers, aura, divine emotion, fear, mental. 30 feet, when the Old Blood Deacons cast a spell, whispers in a dark tongue are heard around them, producing macabre visions of the Old Blood vampiric gods. Creatures in the area must succeed at a DC 27 will save or become frightened 1. So that's whenever they cast a spell. Everything within 30 feet also has to do a will save. Vampiric vulnerabilities, that would be as usual. Mystic Escape, the Old Blood Deacon is reduced to 0 hit points. The Old Blood Deacon uses Turn to Mist. Yeah, that's pretty standard for a vampire. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so the claw, that's pretty standard. Plus 23, agile, grab. What? Sanguine beam. Magical, range 90 feet, 2d10 plus a piercing plus persistent bleed. I like the idea of magical villains having a built-in one action attack that's basically just a spell beam of some sort. So I love that this is here because it's spot on for the theming. It's a little bit of NPC bullshit, but you don't have to worry about a one action cantrip. Divine prepared spells, harm, spirit blast. Yeah, this is all pretty standard for it. There's some good choices in here. And this is a more aggressive caster, because their spell attack is a little bit higher, so they are going to hang back. Change shape, the Old Blood Deacon transforms into a giant bat or back into their normal form. As a giant bat, they gain echolocation 40 feet, a land speed of 20 feet, and a fly speed of 30 feet, and a fang strike with a plus 23 attack bonus as their highest melee attack. These fangs deal 2d12 plus 8 piercing damage. I would have to check the other actual vampire stat blocks, but I don't think they specify an actual shape, and they don't give the stats for that. If the usual change shape entries for vampires don't, then honestly, Lewis, this is great. Like, I like that it's been specified. Create Servitor. If a creature dies after being reduced to 0 hit points by drink blood, the Old Blood Deacon can turn this victim into a vampire servitor by donating some of their own blood to the victim and burying the victim in earth for 3 nights. A vampiric servitor is compelled to obey its creator, but if a vampire controls too many vampiric servitors at once, as determined by the GM, or if the servitor is a higher level than the vampire that created it, strong-willed servitors can free themselves by succeeding at its DC will saving throw against vampire's will DC. Once again, that's pretty basic. Dominate, that's also pretty typical for a vampire. Drink blood. And once again, we're seeing this like flat amount for healing regain, which I love. Steady spell casting and turn to mist. But there's our deacon, like there's the full picture of him. So keep that in mind. They're still there. He's just hanging around. He's doing good. Living his best life. Moisturized. Filled with blood. Thriving. Truly. But yeah. That's a villain. How much time do we have? 45 minutes. I want to have a quick look at the villain template. Villains are powerful enemies capable of defeating a group of adventurers on their own within their lairs or with the help of minions. Villains can be creatures unique to Nexaria or who stand out among their peers as leaders due to their power. These enemies are meant to have a significant narrative weight in the story, either as arch enemies of the heroes, recurring foes, or powerful opponents they must defeat to achieve their heroic goal. In essence, a villain represents a different type of threat than what the heroes typically encounter. An encounter against the villain has 2 phases, in which the villain changes or evolves, forcing the heroes to modify their strategy. Oh. Okay. Alright. An encounter against a villain has 2 phases. Yep, villains may undergo a complete transformation between forms, while others may simply change some of their characteristics. When the villain becomes bloodied, it transforms into its awakened form, gaining new abilities. So 2-stage fights. Bloodied is a condition that affects creatures when damage is reduced their hit points to equal or less than half their maximum HP. Some effects can interact or have different results with bloodied creatures. If a villain becomes bloodied, it transforms into its awakened form. Oh, okay. If a bloodied creature gains hit points over its maximum HP, it continues to be bloodied for the rest of the encounter. A creature loses the bloodied condition after 24 hours. So this is our proper example of fighting the giant creature, well, fighting the villain. They change forms and then you come back like a day or two later because you had to run away and it's back to its normal form. Basic villain adjustments. Add the villain in a unique or rare trait, increase the creature's level by 1. The villain has a maximum pool of free villain points that can be used for the following actions. So these are pretty, not default, but these are the kind of ones that all villains will get if you give them this template. So the cleanse conditions. This cleanse conditions is really great. Like there is a mythic villain ability that does a similar thing where they just remove one condition for spending a mythic point. The fact that this is counteracting one condition affecting it, so they have to do the counteract check for the villain point makes a lot of sense and is a good compromise, I think. Dreadful Misery, Dire Resolve, we saw these earlier. The fact that this is the free action is kind of great as well. Though, using the villain points as I have them at the moment, I can already do this. Dreadful Misery, we saw that earlier. Increase the creature's hit points by the amount listed on the table. Deadly Striker, increase the damage of its strike and other offensive abilities by 1. Dreadful Blessings, okay, that's all good. All right, Villain Awakened Form adjustments. Adaptive Resistance, the villain gains resistance to the damage type that made it bloodied. The resistance value depends on the villain's level. Yeah, okay. Awakened Speed, the villain's awakened form gains either a burrow, climb, or swim speed equal to its land speed. If the villain is of level 5 or higher, it can also gain a fly speed. Ooh. All right. Dual Initiative. The villain has 2 turns each round, rolling initiative twice at the start of the encounter. It has 5 actions per round to use, but can only get a maximum of 3 actions per turn. At the start of the first turn, it must decide if it gets 2 or 3 actions, depending on its decision. It gets the rest of the actions at the start of the second turn. It also gets 1 reaction at the start of each turn, for a total of 2 reactions per round. The villain can't use the delay action. I've seen a similar rule instituted in a couple of other systems. I think the one that immediately comes to mind was the Pokemon game I tried to run. That kind of fell apart due to some system limitations. But it used a similar thing. And I found the best way to do this was to just split the initiative. Because there are times where you roll twice and it's like, oh, that's all 5 actions. Where the idea is that you kind of split it up a little bit. So, as advice to the GMs, I would at least put 1 or 2 players in between. But also, before using this kind of dual initiative type of thing, I would wait until it gets to the point where they have no minions with them. So it's 1 versus the party. But considering the placement, then awakened form, that would suggest it's at that point anyway. Limb Mutation, the villain's body transforms, changing at least one of its attacks, dealing a different type of physical damage. So that would be a swap around. Skill Excellency, the villain uses the extreme skill value for a creature of its level as the modifier of one of its skill. So athletics. kind of would like to see an expansion of this, I'm not gonna lie. So for instance, these 3 abilities are great, but I would love to see just extra ones. Like these are the three that are default. That whenever you put because this is a pretty, I will say once again, this is actually a very quick template to place on something as well. But I would like to see, particularly for more things to spend on villain points. You couldn't really... So I would like to see things where for like bespoke abilities on villains, like for instance, if you have a villain that uses a giant sword, have them have to spend a villain point to do some sort of big FU attack where, you know, they just impale someone on the sword. Or spend a villain point to immediately regenerate their breath weapon. Stuff like that. Things that are optional but not default. So that way the GM in question who's building the encounter can kind of change and mix things up. Some Cloudbuster Earthcleave move, yeah. Something that's just obviously fucking overpowered, and you just specify you could only do this once, and you have to spend a villain point for it. But a guide point for doing that kind of thing would be amazing and awesome. But otherwise, like I said, this is a pretty simple template. I'm a big fan of taking basic creatures and then making them more powerful. So just taking like for instance, basic dragons, slapping a template on them. Like you could take any of the dragons from the Draconic Codex, make them a villain, give them the template, and then all of a sudden they're a lot scarier. You know, because dragons needed to be scarier. So we've been at this for like 3 hours, or at least close to. We haven't gone into any of the lore or anything like that. But even just looking at the things that we have, there is so much rich adventure potential there. Like, I definitely want to look into the actual setting a lot more. But I definitely want to write adventures for this. I want to see how players respond to some of this stuff. Like, going back to the Blight stuff. Like, they jump up, like for those who missed the Blight creatures earlier, 3, 6, 9, 12. So that's the entire spread for a 1 to 10 adventure. You could have the final boss turn into this fucker. Like, have them as a blighted acolyte to begin with. Where was it? Where is it? So your big bad for the campaign, for like a 1 to 10 campaign, is like someone like this who's a blight acolyte and is working to spread the blight across the countryside. Players kind of get introduced to this phenomenon from an early point and kind of have to work towards stopping them. Our villain always one step ahead. They have the Veil Walker creature. Which one was this? Oh. Milosh? I watched Jacksepticeye play through it recently. Yeah, gosh. Mikolash, thank you. I knew I was close. Oh, I like him. Mental deflection, reflex. The Veil Walker succeeds or critically succeeds on a saving throw against a spell with the mental effect. The caster briefly glimpses the incomprehensible mind of the Veil Walker. The alien visage it observes are terrifying and nearly impossible for any creature to understand. The caster must attempt a DC 29 will save. On a failure, the caster babbles with a blank stare, is slowed 1 and can't use reaction. On a critical failure, the caster is confused for 1 minute. It can attempt a new save at the end of each of its turns to end the confusion. But once again, we just have like a caster. Level 10's actually very usable across the board as well. But once again, this art hats off to the artist. I mean, let's go to the okay, so there are a lot of artists there. But there you go, people. Character sheet? Is there a custom character sheet? Did I miss that? Gazetteer. 1 second. Do you have a link? Because I'm more than happy for you to just drop it in chat. Oh, we have quick clicks for the... Oh, love to see it. While we are waiting for that though, because there are a lot to cover in here. I am gonna drop this one for that, but I'm also going to, if you are on Blue Sky, do check them out over on Blue Sky. Give them a follow. They're also, Lewis is also going to be writing on the upcoming Lost Omens High Seas, which I'm really looking forward to. So definitely check them out. Time Dilation, Wild Magic. The Eye of Blight. Okay, so, alright. Oh, there's a template for blight creatures. Oh, that just blows the options up. Like that's so many. Blight creature abilities, deadly speed, reinvigoration. Choose one of the creature's attack. If the attack deals damage to a target, must succeed on a fortitude save. Standard. Yep. Blighted 1, Blighted 2. Yes! Check Blue Sky. Oh, Oh, that's pretty. What is that? PDF? Yep, that's PDF. That. Do you mind if I open up on stream? Do it? All right. That's, we're gonna open there, and we're gonna go like this. Look at how pretty that is. Like, we have the icons, things are well spread out. Oh, I think I might prefer this to the Pathfinder basic one, because I have a few of them. Reflex item bonuses, so you can calculate the full total. Actions and activities on the same page along with the various strikes. Right? Character name, player name, level, hero points. Wealth and bulk, that's all good. The idea was to have the useful info in the same sheet. Yeah, no, absolutely. Hero points, level, player name, character name. Ancestry feats and abilities, class feats and features. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 5 plus a little bit extra if they're playing a human or something like that. Feats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I see what you did there. Yeah, you've taken into account the average amounts that people would gain across a 20 feat progression. And the class feats as well. Bonus feats, because you're not going to get too many of. Oh, look at this. That's pretty. Spells remaining, spells per day, cantrip rank. So you have a quick one for that. Traditions, that's pretty standard. Cantrips, because people are absolutely going to get more than 3 or 4. A section for innate spells as well. Focus spells. What's that? What's that? Oh, okay. So we have a separate sheet for if you get blighted. Oh, faction reputations. I didn't even cover the factions. Allies, enemies, quests, notes. See, I don't go to PFS anymore. But if I did, I would probably show up with this character sheet. This is sick as fuck. Hell yeah. All right, well, I mean, we're out of time. But absolutely, check out Nexaria. Like, I didn't even cover half the things in the Bestiary for a second stream. Maybe, like, next time I have players cancel or I just need something. Like, I usually don't do a character building session 0 type of thing, but once the Foundry module's up and running, I definitely wouldn't mind. Like, grab Dwarf and get him to build a character through here. Players cancel, screw them, cancel yourself to do this. But no, this is... Yeah, no, I like it. To quote a very old meme, I like it, Picasso. All that said, we do have to finish up for the night. So let's go back to that. In case anyone forgot, I'm gonna find someone to raid. Oh, easy. Ish is live. And yeah, Natural 30's on live, so yeah, we're gonna raid into Ish. No, you're fine. Like, we've been breaking her all evening. Yeah, she probably has the share thing on at the moment. No, look, honestly, Lewis, this is a great setting. Like, I know you've shown me like bits and pieces of it in the past, but just looking at it here and seeing that it's all come together like this has been really great to see. Like, I'm one of those people that I am biased. I do my own third-party content, but I definitely feel that Pathfinder 2nd Edition is a really great system and could do with more third-party stuff, and particularly could do with more settings. So I'm really happy to see more people doing it, and especially of this level of quality, because this is fucking awesome. So, what do you reckon, chat? I look at doing a Nexaria campaign in the future. Do a short one, see how it goes. But let's get that raid set up and ready to go. At least a taster with the streamathon. I think so. I think we might do something with Nexaria. Ish in a box. So yeah, we're going to be raiding into Ish in a box. She's a good friend of mine, or at least we've become friends as we have been. She's been a player in the Wednesday night game for ages now, since it started. And she's currently playing Plate Up, which is a kind of overcooked style of game. If I remember right, she has a tendency to do a Twitch integration mod that allows you to kind of be a guest in the restaurant as well. So it's a lot of fun. But otherwise, thank you everyone for joining us. Also, thank you, Lewis, for being in the chat for some of this. It's just really great. It's really cool. I don't have much else to say, really. So, with all that said, I hope you all have a good day, a good night, a good week, no matter where you are in the world. And remember, as always, we are the storytellers. Good night, everyone.